Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Blight here to bring you another deck profile. But unlike most of the decks I've done so far, which can be considered fun decks, this one is a meta deck. So today we take a look at the Burning Abyss. Now, this is a deck that's left a huge impact on the TCG. It actually began as a TCG exclusive deck, but is now also found in the OCG. They rely heavily on Exceed summoning rank 3 monsters, milling cards, they can also do synchro summons, they have heavy back rows, so it's a very versatile and fun deck to play. It's based on Dante's Inferno, which is just awesome because having a deck based on some fine literature is always interesting. So yeah, without further ado, let's begin the deck profile. First up we have 3 Graph Malabranch of the Burning Abyss. Now, all of the Malabranch monsters have something in common, and that is if you control no spells and traps, you can special summon them from your hand, and if you control a monster that's not a Burning Abyss monster, they're automatically destroyed. Now this effect that destroys them is a continuous effect, it doesn't start a chain, so if you have anything that's not Burning Abyss or something that's face down, because then it counts as not knowing what it is, they are automatically destroyed. Now each one of them has their own unique effect, and they get the effects once they hit the graveyard in any way, so they can be detached as Exceed materials, milled, sent directly from the deck to the grave, discarded, whatever. So that opens up a lot of possibilities with cost traps and stuff. So Graph is one of the most important Malabranch monsters because he special summons a Burning Abyss monster from your deck when he's sent to the graveyard. So this is the guy you want to summon with your tour guide to get your plays going on the first turn, because combining him and another Malabranch we'll get to see in a minute basically means you'll always have some field presence, and you can maintain hand advantage as well. So 3 Graph is pretty standard for all Burning Abyss builds, so nothing too original here. Then we have 3 Seer Malabranch of the Burning Abyss. This one is, in my opinion, the best Malabranch. Of course, opinions can differ, but yeah. So his effect is, once he is sent to the graveyard, you can target one Burning Abyss monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So with this guy, you can special summon any other Malabranch monster. You can also bring back Dante, and you can bring back Virgil. Being able to bring back Virgil, which is a 2500 monster with a great effect, is just amazing. Also, because Dante can bring back Burning Abyss monsters, Burning Abyss cards from the graveyard to the hand, it means if you have Seer and Dante, you can keep alternating between the two and never run out of field presence or hand advantage, I guess. So yeah, also he has 1600 attack. I forgot to mention Graph has only 1000 attack. So yeah, out of the Malabranch, she's one of the highest attacking monsters. So yeah. Next up we have the Searcher, Skarm, Malabranch of the Burning Abyss. Also an amazing monster. He's the one that started the whole trend of searching during the end phase. So yeah, once he's sent to the graveyard during the end phase of the turn, during the end phase of the turn, he's sent to the graveyard. You get to add a level 3 or lower Fiend type monster from your Dark Fiend type monster from your deck to your hand, except himself, so he cannot search himself. With him, you can search out Tour Guide, and then with Tour Guide, you can basically go into Dante and get your entire plays going. You can also search out any other Malabranch monster. So pretty cool a pretty cool card to open with, and later on in the duel, once he gets milled, he'll help you maintain your hand advantage, help you add whatever monster you feel like you need at the moment. So yeah, also he has 2000 defense, which is very decent, so most of the time if your opponent doesn't have any beat sticks, he can actually survive on the field. But sadly he only has 800 attacks, so I guess that's kind of a downfall. Next up we have the tuner of the deck, also the oddball among the Malabranch, because he doesn't have any effect that would activate in the graveyard. His only effect is the one that special summons him from your hand if you control no spells and traps. Also the one that destroys him if you have a monster that's not a Burning Abyss. But on the plus side, he's a tuner that you can very easily special summon. Also 2100 defense. So even greater defense than Skarm, meaning he can also survive on the field if you so need. But yeah, this is the guy you use to go into your Synchro monster, which is Virgil, one of the best cards in this deck. So yeah, I play two. You can also get away with one if you feel like you wanna run more traps or spells or something. So yeah, I would never run more than two Rubik. And next we have Farfa. Farfa is pretty interesting in the fact that it's a very disruptive monster. Once he's sent to the graveyard, you can target one monster on the field and banish it until the end phase. This opens up a lot of possibilities because you can use this to banish your opponent's monsters, exceed monsters, and therefore rob them of their exceed materials. You can also clear away the path and attempt to do an OTK. And combining this card with Engineer, the Exceed monster lets you basically disrupt your opponent's plays during their turn because Engineer can detach a material whenever he wants, and if you detach Farfa, you would then be able to banish one of your opponent's monsters and thereby prevent them from Exceed summoning, Synchro summoning, or whatever they were attempting to do. So yeah, Farfa is pretty cool. I run it at 2. More or less than 2 would be, I don't know, either too less or too much. Then we have Barbar. He's the one of the newest Malabranch. His effect is once he's sent to the graveyard, you can target up to 3 Burning Abyss cards in your graveyard except him, banish them, and then for each card you banished, you get to burn your opponent for 300 damage. Now this is pretty interesting because it opens up a lot of possibilities. Keep in mind, since this deck is rank 3 based, you cannot use Gagaga Cowboy to finish your games, but you can now use Barbar because Barbar has the potential to deal 900 effect damage. Now this combined with Nightmare Shark, who can attack directly, means you can get away with 2900 damage in one turn, which is pretty good. And late game, if this card is in your graveyard, you can keep, and your graveyard is full with Burning Abyss monsters, you can keep special summoning him or bringing him back in some way and potentially do even more burn damage and finish the duel in that way. Now this guy has helped me finish a lot of duels, but I wouldn't run him more than one. He's just perfect at one. Also 1700 attacks, so he is the Malabranch with the highest attack. And now for the least useful ones, we have Liebig. Liebig, when he's sent to the graveyard, you get to special summon a level 3 Dark Fiend monster from your hand with its effect negated. Now what he does is if you have a monster that's not a Burning Abyss monster, he can let you summon a Malabranch monster from your hand without it being destroyed. Also, if you have something like a Skarm and a Graph in your hand, and you don't want to use either of their effects, you don't want to special summon them because then you wouldn't be able to use their other effect. If you're able to somehow send Liebig, like such as using a Foolish Burial, that would allow you to actually normal summon Graph and then special summon Seer with his effect, and then both of them would be able to get their other effects once they hit the graveyard. So that's basically what you use Liebig for. Then we have Kalkeb, basically just another name you can special summon. Kalkeb's effect is when he's sent to the graveyard, you can target one set spell and trap card on the field and return it to the hand. So this can be, I guess, useful during your opponent's end phase if you can somehow send him and then bounce one of their back row back into their hand. Other than that, it's just, like I said, another name that you can special summon to help with your plays. And last but not least, we have Drahig. I hope I pronounced that right. Malabranch of the Burning Abyss. His effect is once he's sent to the graveyard, you can choose one Burning Abyss card from your deck and place it on top of your deck. So basically he lets you either choose what you're going to draw next turn or set up your mills. Again, not too useful, but he's basically filler and basically another name you can special summon. Also, he looks awesome. Artwork-wise, this is my favorite Malabranch. Looks kind of like an alien, or I don't know. So yeah, that is it for the Malabranch monsters. Now let's take a look at the other monsters in this deck. There aren't too many of them, just 2, but 2 very useful ones. Tour Guide, limited to 1 for good reason, because of the Burning Abyss. We all know what she does. Once she is normal summoned, you can special summon one level 3 Fiend type monster from your hand or deck. Its effects are negated and it cannot be used as a Synchro material monster. So basically this is the card you want on your first turn to get your plays going, and later on in the duel you can search her out with Scarm, and basically she is a free Dante or free any rank 3 exceed monster that you want or need at the moment. So yeah, just watch out for Effect Veiler, because if she remains on the field, you would be unable to special summon any of the other Malabranch because she's not a Burning Abyss. Why isn't she Tour Guide of the Burning Abyss? And then we have a similar card, Crane Crane. When Crane Crane is summoned, you get to special summon a level 3 monster from your graveyard, which with its effect negated. So basically, I like to use this to go into Virgil, because unlike Tour Guide, you can special summon the tuner monster from your graveyard and then perform the synchro summon. But with Tour Guide, she would disable the monster from being used as a synchro material. So yeah, what most players don't know, and what I can show you, is if your first hand, like on your first turn, you have Crane Crane and one of the Malabranch monsters, so and you think you're unable to go into Dante, you'd be wrong. You can actually go into Dante by special summoning the Malabranch, then normal summoning the Crane Crane. Because the effect that destroys the Malabranch is a continuous effect that doesn't start a chain, this would automatically destroy itself before Crane Crane gets to activate its effect. So basically, once you normal summon, this immediately goes to the graveyard, and then Crane Crane can activate its effect, special summon this back, and then you can go into a rank 3 exceed monster. So keep that in mind. Crane Crane is pretty cool, but you really don't need more than one. So yeah. And that is it for the monsters, and now moving on to the spells, we have one Raigeki, complemented with 2 Dark Holes. Now, like I said, all the Malabranch monsters have effects once they hit the graveyard, so basically Dark Hole doesn't do you any harm, so you'll still get your effects. And if you have Dante, you get to add cards back into your hand, so you effectively have 3 Raigeki in this deck, which is always welcome. People underestimate the power of destroying monsters these days because everything floats, but it's still nice to have a way to just clear off the field, so yeah. Next up, some back row destruction, Galaxy Cyclone and Mystical Space Typhoon. Now, if I had another Galaxy Cyclone, I would gladly play it, but so far I only have one, so the Mystical Space Typhoon will have to do for now. Now, you all know what this does, but let me explain Galaxy Cyclone. It's very similar to Mystical Space Typhoon, but it's a normal spell card. It's not a quick play. You target one set spell trap card on the field, destroy it, and then if this card is in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can banish it to destroy a face-up spell and trap card on the field. So basically this is destruction of 2 spells and traps if used properly. Note that the text says, target one set spell trap card on the field, destroy it. It doesn't say destroy that target. Meaning that if your opponent has a continuous trap, such as lose one turn, for example, and you target this, they'll be like, oh, I'm going to chain this, this is a continuous spell, now you cannot destroy my set spell and trap card. No, it still destroys it because it says destroy it, not destroy that target, like Alucard. So there's a difference. So basically, if your opponent chains a continuous spell or trap, this will still destroy it. So that's one of the reasons why this card is so expensive and hard to get. Next up, we have one Book of Moon to just disrupt things, the card with 1,000 uses. I've explained it numerous times, so no need to dwell on Book of Moon. Foolish Burial for obvious reasons. This entire deck is graveyard friendly, so with this card you can just get any effect that you need at the moment. One Mask Change 2, because Darklaw is still a very powerful card, and you can easily go into Darklaw by discarding one of the Malabranch, getting their effects, and just proceeding to bring out the personal macrocosmos of your opponents. So yeah. Dark Eruption. I really like this card. I used to run Allure of Darkness before, but I found that it was, I don't know. If I'm not banishing one of the useless Malabranches, I'm going negative with Allure of Darkness, so this for me is a better option. With this card you can add one dark monster with a 1500 or less attack in your graveyard to your hand, so basically this lets you reuse Tour Guide, which is pretty good, and you can also use almost all of the Malabranch except Seer and Barbar, so pretty good card. And now that is it for the spells, and moving on to the traps. Now this deck is infamous for its back row, so let's take a look at what is in the Burning Abyss. First up, we have the most powerful trap cards of this deck, Fire Lake of the Burning Abyss. You Send 2 face-up Burning Abyss monsters you control to the graveyard, then target up to 3 cards on the field and destroy them. So this is absolutely devastating, and it's a card that you can easily win your games with if you open on turn 1. So if you manage to open with like 2 Dante or Dante and some Malabranch, and you have this as a back row, this basically lets you destroy your opponent's entire back row, or don't let them summon any monsters or whatever. And it's a Burning Abyss card, meaning Dante can always return it to your hand with his effect. So because of that, and because of the fact that this card is usable multiple times, you don't really need 3 cards. So as soon as this is drawn or hits the graveyard, you basically have your Fire Lake for that duel. So no need to play 3. 2 is just the perfect number, but 3 is also an option if you want to draw it like sooner or something. Now a relatively newer card, Fiend Griefing, and it's one that gave Burning Abyss a huge boost. This card is basically a combination of Foolish Burial and Transmigration Prophecy. You target one monster in your opponent's graveyard, shuffle it back into the deck, and then you get to then if you want, you can send one Fiend type monster from your deck to your graveyard. This is an excellent card to use against Nekroz, Shaddolls, Infernoids, or Burning Abyss mirror matches. Anything that's graveyard friendly and relies on the graveyard. If your opponent tries to target some monster they want to special summon from the graveyard, you can just return it with Fiend Griefing, send one of your Burning Abyss monsters, get their effects. You can do this also during the end phase. There's so many ways you can use this card, and it's pretty great. I'm actually surprised this is just a common. You'd expect this to be like Ultra or Super or something, but nope, it's just a common card from Cross Souls, so pretty easy to get. Next up we have the Cost Traps. Now Burning Abyss are famous for being able to use Cost Traps with literally no cost, because once you discard the Malabranch you get their effects, and that's almost always a plus, so never a bad thing. So we have the almighty Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. You target one of your opponent's cards, and then you discard one card to target one card your opponent controls, and then put that card on top of their deck. So basically this locks their draw for one turn, which is very annoying, and that one turn can make all the difference in the world later on in the duels. So yeah, I play 2 of these, and then I complement this with one Karma Cut. Karma Cut is pretty similar. You discard one card to target one face-up monster your opponent controls and banish it. Then if your opponent has any of the monsters that you banished in your graveyard, monsters with the same name, you get to banish all of them. So basically this is pretty good in mirror matches. If your opponent has like 2 Seer and then they summon the 3rd Seer, you can banish him, and then all the other 2 from the graveyard would also be banished. Same goes for Dante and stuff like that. I don't really like running 2. I used to run it 2, but then Fiend Griefing appeared, so I really can't find the space to fit in the second one now. But yeah, for me, Phoenix Wing Wind Blast is the superior cost trap. Next we have one Ring of Destruction, an easy way to get rid of your opponent's monster and deal some damage along the way. Solemn Warning, self-explanatory. You negate a summon or a spell or trap card that would summon, or an effect that would special summon a monster. Very useful, but you have to pay 2,000, so keep that in mind. Vanity's Emptiness, basically a staple in any deck. It doesn't really stay on the field too long in this deck though, because as soon as Dante mills something or one of your monsters hits the graveyard, this is just gone. So, but it's still a nice card to have against Nekroz and stuff, because in the right moment this card can be devastating. Torrential Tribute, you don't care about destruction, you don't have to worry about if your field is full of monsters in this deck, so you can set this off almost any time, so yeah. And one Bottomless. That is it for the main deck. Now let's take a look at the extra deck. Now for the star card of this deck, the most important Burning Abyss monster, the most expensive card, Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss. Just love this card so much. Requires 2 level 3 monsters, 1000 attack, 2500 defense, and the effect is once per turn you detach one material, then you send 3 cards. Then you can send up to 3 cards from your deck to the graveyard, and then for each card send, this card gains 500 attack until the end phase. Then if this card attacked, it's switched to defense position. Keep in mind that the milling effect is a cost, so even if skill drain is on the field, or if this gets hit by a Veiler, you still get your mills, so you still get the effects of the cards you sent to the graveyard. And he becomes a 2500 beatstick, which conveniently switches himself to defense after he attacks. So yeah. And his most important effect is, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to add a Burning Abyss card from your graveyard to your hand. He can also return one other Dante back to the extra deck if you need it for some reason. And because it says if this card is sent to the graveyard, it doesn't matter if it's sent from the field or wherever. So even if your opponent uses something like Solemn Warning or Black Horn of Heaven to negate the Exceed Summon of Dante, and Dante hits the grave, you still get the effect. So Dante is pretty nasty to deal with, so yeah. I would never run him at any less than 3, but yeah, I'm hoping he stays at 3, but you never know what the balance can do. Next up we have the second best monster, Virgil, Rockstar of the Burning Abyss, the only synchro monster they have. Basically the Burning Abyss have one synchro, one exceed, one fusion, one ritual. So yeah, they have all the other monsters, but these two are so far the only two useful ones. Don't run the ritual or the fusion one, they're just horrible. Okay, so what Virgil does is, if he's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you get to draw one card. And his other effect, the one that matters, is you can send one Burning Abyss card from your hand to your graveyard to target one card your opponent controls or in their graveyard and shuffle it back into the deck. So this is pretty amazing. It doesn't destroy, it just shuffles back. So with this you can literally get rid of any threat that's on your opponent's side of the field. Unless it's named Cleaford Towers, because then you're screwed. So yeah. Also 2500 attack, and you can special summon him back easily with Seer, so pretty good card. You don't really need to run two. Very rarely would I go into a second Virgil, but it's there just as an option basically. I don't know what else to put in the extra deck as far as rank 3 monsters goes. So it's nice to have. Like I said, I run 2 tuners, so sometimes I would go into the second one. Keep in mind that you can only have one Virgil on the field. You can only control one Virgil, but you can have multiple Dantes. So yeah, you can never have 2 Virgil on the field at the same time. And now for the other rank 3 monsters, we have Zen Mains, the all-time favorite. He's able to avoid destruction, and if he does, he gets to pop a card during the end phase. Then we have Muzu Rhythm, the String Djinn. 1500 attack. When a Djinn monster is attacking, you can detach one material from this card, and that Djinn's original attack is doubled during that damage calculation. So basically, this works only if he's attacking, not if he's attacked, which would have been a lot better, but yeah, so he's basically an alternative to Acid Golem. If you don't want Acid Golem's negative effects and you just need to get over some big monster on the field, you can use Muzu Rhythm. So yeah. Next up, Nightmare Shark, 2 level 3 monsters. It can attack directly and win you games, 2000 attacks, so pretty decent. Combining it with Barbar, like I said earlier, has the potential to deal 2900 damage in one turn, which is pretty decent. Next up we have the hated Acid Golem of Destruction. I just hate using this card, but sometimes you have no choice. 2 level 3 monsters, 3000 attack, but you cannot special summon anything while he's on the field. And during each of your standby phases, you either detach one material or take 2000 damage, and when he's out of materials, he can no longer attack. So basically, his acid will burn you to death if you're not careful. So only use this as an absolute last resort, and you would also use this if you want to do like an OTK, because with 2 Dante, you have 5000 and 3000 with Acid Golem. That would be games. So yeah. That's basically, most of the time I just use him for the OTK. I don't like him on the field at all. So next up, Giga Brilliant. Rarely use this card, but I guess it's an option. 1800 attack, you detach one, and all of your monsters on the field gain 300 attack permanently. So pretty cool. Can help you, can help Virgil get over some things, and I guess Dante. So it's decent but rarely used. Next we have Ghost Trick Alucard, pops set spell and trap cards. Keep in mind, like I said, he's not a Galaxy Cyclone. His effect is target one set spell and trap card, target one set card on the field, not spell and trap. You can pop set monsters also. and destroy that target. And because it says destroy that target, if it's a continuous spell or trap, I mean, if it's a continuous trap and your opponent chains it, it would then remain on the field. It wouldn't get destroyed like with Galaxy Cyclone. 1800 attack. Out of all the rank 3 monsters, this is one of the more useful ones because, like I said, it lets you pop set monsters. That's pretty cool. Mech-whipped Engineer. The only one with a quick effect that you can use at any time. You basically detach one material, target one attack position monster you control, shift it to defense position, and if you do, until the end of this turn, it cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects. Now, it helps you survive, and it also helps you disrupt your opponent's plays by using it with Farfa, like I mentioned earlier. So yeah, one masked hero, Darklaw, your opponent's personal macrocosmos. This card is amazing, and it can help you win games against Necros, mirror matches against Burning Abyss, Infernoids, whatever you need. I keep the second mask change too in the side deck, so if I'm going up against one of those decks, then I would side in the second copy. I can also side in a second copy of Darklaw if needed, but so far one is just enough. Darklaw also has another effect. If your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, except during the draw phase or the damage step, you can then banish one random card from their hands. So when he's on the field, your opponent has to think twice about searching. And last but not least, we have Downward Magician, the only rank 4 in this deck, but you don't use rank 4. I mean, you don't use level 4 monsters to make her. During your main phase 2, you can exceed summon this card by using a rank 3 monster as an exceed material. She has 2100 attack, but gains, let's see, how much does she gain? I always forget. She gets 200 attack for each exceed material attached to this card, and she also does piercing damage. But if she attacks or is attacked, you must detach one exceed material. Basically, it's piercing damage, and it's what you would use if you have a Dante with no exceed materials. Basically, with her, it's you guarantee that your Dante is going to hit the graveyard unless Macrocosmos is on the field. So later on in the game, if you have one or two Dantes that don't have exceed materials, you overlay them into Downer Magician, and that is a guarantee that when Downer Magician leaves the field, and so will its exceed materials, in this case Dante, and then Dante would get his effect, and you would get your Burning Abyss monsters back into your hand. So yeah, pretty cool card. You can also run it at 3. I currently only have 2, but I might actually consider playing the third one maybe instead of the second Virgil, because a lot of the times, I mean, a more common situation would be that I need the third Downer Magician than I would need the second Virgil, so yeah. Burning Abyss deck is very powerful, pretty easy to play once you get the hang of it, pretty fun to play because literally every duel is going to be different because like all mill decks, there's a huge element of luck, and yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this deck profile. Feel free to leave some comments, suggestions, anything you want, and I will see you guys with more Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. Bye bye.